And he was like, he was searching for these words. He goes, the real first sentence he said, people are going to be wearing these with tuxedos. And I'm going, I didn't believe in myself. And then about 3 months later, Boyz II Men showed up on the American Music Awards, all wearing Air Jordan 11s with tuxedos. And Michael called me up that night and said, "See, I told you so." And I said, "You probably paid those guys." He said, "No way. No, they did on their own." And so it kind of developed a life of its own, this shoe, because it sort of transcended basketball a little bit and into sort of modern culture in the music industry. And so that's the story of the shoe. It's pretty fun. It's my favorite because of all of those things.
So now, because we talked about both of those shoes, how did those two shoes smash together to make the Comfort 11s?
I have no idea. Ask Steve. It's his. I think it was his. I can't take any credit for the design, the smashing together of these two shoes to create this design, which is actually an accepted way to come up with new ideas, right? Bring two things that are unlikely and put them together in an artful way, and you come up with a new design. I didn't do this work. So I'm just here to take credit. That's all. But anyway, there's some talented people at Nike and with the Soul Collector guys. I think it was a good idea. Sort of mix it up a little bit. Take two things that are not, again, normally associated with one another and put them together. I should, point out that they were both designed at roughly the same time back in the day. So they do have a connection time-wise, actually.
So, because you worked with Soul Collector and, of course, Nike, but can you tell us a little bit more about the collaboration process between you guys and, some of the inspirations for this particular shoe?
Well, the Soul Collector guys have been great because they're such passionate, advocates of good design, sneaker heads to the max, perfectionists, and all of that stuff. And it's been actually sometimes when you sit down and they know more than I do about a shoe that I designed, and it shows that they study they understand the medium that they work in, which is the magazine industry and all of the great photography and the writing, but also they just have this really deep understanding of the actual product itself. And that makes it really fun for me because actually sometimes they'll tell me things about the shoes that I either forgot or whatever, and so it's been super fun to work with them over the time. And I'm always energized when I'm usually finished talking to, especially Nick and Steve. I'm always energized by their passion. Just like here tonight, I still struggle with the fact that people are so interested in the work that I've done over the years. Thank you for coming. It really gives me a lot of energy. Very
cool. Okay, so now we're gonna take a few questions from the crowd. So, anybody have any questions for the man, the myth, the legend, Tinker Hatfield?
It's not a myth, he's right here.
Jordan 11 on top, the IE. What does the IE stand for?
The IE, I have no idea. And I think I need to follow that up with the description of what I do at Nike. I design shoes. I design shoes for the future. I never work on retros purposely because I'm supposed to be somebody who's supposed to be always looking forward. And so a lot of times I don't even name the shoes. I just pretty much design the stuff and then I move on. And I'm always kind of going forward. So I don't always even know.
It's not retro.
Huh? Well, it's kind of a remix. It's kind of a remix with retro stuff. So even though I might work on a project, I don't always.
No, it's all good.
The actual naming of the projects.
Any more questions?
We got speakers talking right now,
2011.
doing a Q&A session.
That design's been in the can for about 6 months, and we're about halfway through designing the 12 right now.
Peace.
What you should know about Jordans, I mean, when you work on so many different basketball shoes, and I work on Kobe's with some people, and I used to work on LeBron's until his entourage kind of pissed me off. But it's not crazy. But, that's a whole other.
That's right.
Whole other thing. LeBron's great, but his entourage. Anyway, the 11s. I think one of the things you should know about Jordans is that as we look at all these performance basketball shoes, and I underline the word performance because they have to work for the best players in the world. In the case of Jordans, of course, Dwayne Wade is going to be one of our main guys going forward. But the idea behind Jordans is to always keep them differentiated from, say, anything else in the Nike line. And what we're going to do is in the 2011, we'll hopefully sort of bring that point home. That we're going to continue to actually sort of draw a little bit from the past with handcrafted, more beautiful materials, and even using stitching more often than say we would in Nike. Nike shoes are going to be more plastic and maybe more sort of futuristic. And Jordans are going to be modern and high tech and all of that, but they're going to have much more of a hand, much more of a touch, much more of a gutsy sort of leathery feel. Something that I think when you buy them, you should want to take care of them. So that's kind of the Jordan 2011, which I can't describe it too much without somebody really get mad. But it's going to have there's going to be a little bit of flavor from the past, and there'll be a little bit of mixing from the future, and it'll all be done in what we're calling a very premium, sort of handcrafted, sort of beautiful style. So I think it'll be very wearable, but you'll also see them in the NBA because they're super light and super high performance. So,
Any more questions?
What's your favorite MJ story?
Oh, favorite MJ story. Well, some of them can't be told in public. My favorite story is a kind of an emotional one for me because it says a lot about his character, and that is the story. I used to go and hang out at his house and try to understand who he was and his life. And sometimes I'd be there, before basketball games in Chicago, and usually with another guy at Nike, fantastic man. His name is Howard White, and he's one of Michael's good buddies, and also kind of a way for me to get closer to Michael, to kind of become a part of this, a little more of an inner circle. So I would go stay at Michael's house, and one day when he was playing against the New York Knicks, third game, Chicago was down 2-0. They played the first two games in New York City. And so the third game was now going to be in Chicago, and you don't want to lose that third game. You don't want to be down 3-0 in a 7-game series. And this was for the right to go to the World Championships. Anyway, so I'm riding with Michael to the game. I'm in the backseat of his car. He goes through kind of a rough neighborhood. It wasn't the normal way you would drive to, the basketball arena. It just wasn't a normal way to go. I know Chicago pretty well. We were in the hood, yes. That's we were driving through the hood. Anyway, so there were 5 kids standing on the street corner, and Michael pulled, and you could tell that they were there for a purpose. They were waiting for something, and Michael pulled right next to these young guys. And they were about 12, 13, and 14 years old, right around in that age group. And Michael rolled down the window, and they obviously knew Michael. They said hello. They were talking back and forth. Michael was giving them some advice, gave them some tickets to the game. Sometimes he would give them shoes. Sometimes he'd give them cash. He'd give them money. Sometimes it was just good advice. And these kids were just kids that he just found in the street one day, and throughout his entire career, I didn't understand what was going on other than I thought, this is great, he's talking to these kids on the way to one of the most important basketball games in his life. He stops and talks to these kids, and I just go, wow, that's really cool. Well, then later on, I asked him what it was all about, and he said, oh, those guys, I stop and talk to those kids before every single basketball game that I play in Chicago.